Wally, I really agree with that last point that you made. The idea that keeping close tabs of what we're getting for what we're giving in relationships is important. Now, that principle works really well with business and financial transactions, but it doesn't work so well in marriage relationships. We ought not to be keeping tabs or doing the scorekeeping, as you said. Now, another important myth in marriage relationships is that active listening is the key to good communication and a healthy marriage. Active listening can be helpful for some people, but as John Gottman puts it, active listening asks couples to perform Olympic-level emotional gymnastics when their relationship can barely walk. Now, active listening, most people are familiar with this. It's the notion of the I statement. You say, I'm really frustrated when such and such happens, and you fill in the blank. But see, the thing that most couples know is that the person behind all of those I statements is their partner. And so it's hard to play, in essence, the therapist role where you're not taking offense because you know that person's talking about you behind all of those I statements. So what we really need to do is love and accept our partner in lieu of all the difficulties or in spite of all the difficulties. What's really important here is the idea of getting our hearts in the right place. Even though we're having a difficult time, a frustrating time with our partner, we need to be able to say, you know what, beneath it all, I love this person. I know that we'll get through this struggle, and I'm willing to work through this struggle with this person. See, I statements we can do in at least one of two ways. We can do the I statement, but we can do it with a hard heart. We can be thinking, boy, I am just going to blast this person with the I statement, or I'm going to get him back later. Or we can do the I statement with a softened heart, a heart of forgiveness, a heart that's willing to work through the problem. If we're doing it in that sense, it probably works. But if we're not doing it in that way, it's really not going to work. What this boils down to is how we're treating and seeing our spouse. Are we seeing and treating them as a person with hopes, dreams, wants, needs, fears, and desires, just as real and just as important to them as ours are to us? Or are we seeing and treating them more as an object, a tool to get what we want out of life? Now, two books that deal with both of these points that have been talked about here are Gottman's book, The 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work, and the Arbinger Institute's book, Leadership and Self-Deception.
There's another interesting trap or fiction related to marriage, the idea that a good marriage will always make me happy. You know, there's a lot of stuff that goes into happiness, and to expect a partner to in some way magically make life good in all ways, that's a terrible burden. And in fact, some observers have said that the reason that marriage is creaking under a terrible burden is that we expect it to do so much. We've loaded up with all the expectations to make us happy. Sometimes we forget that one vital role of marriage is to help us grow. That is, learning how to be with another person and learning how to see their point of view and learning how to give and take, how to jump in and help even when we're tired. That's about cultivating character more than just about finding happiness. One popular idea, I think, is that love is kind of like a love potion. It's this powerful stuff that you take this love potion, you know, you're just filled with passion, excitement, and love. Well, in real life, and I want to quote Blaine Fowers here. He says, in real life, love is much more than a feeling. It is a long series of decisions to be together and give to one another, a commitment to work together, to build a shared life, a day-to-day involvement that changes who we are as people. See, it's about becoming better people. He also says, the best way to have a good marriage is to be a good person. It's something that takes a lifetime. You know, in fact, as we work on becoming better people, we're able to be better partners as well. And so if we take the long view, I'm going to work at this, I'm going to try to become a better person, I'm going to learn to love and respect and value you. I'm not just going to try to be supported by this sense of euphoria that's more characteristic of the early stages of marriage. So we recommend to you the book by Blaine Fowers, Beyond the Myth of Marital Happiness.
Another marital myth is that we always have to have harmony in our marriage relationships, that we have to always validate our partner. Now, John Gottman has said that there are 3 relationship styles. One of them is validating, but one is volatile and one is avoidant. Now, what he says is that all of us are not validating relationship types of people. Some of us are avoidant, and some of us are downright volatile. Some of us will fight over just about anything. And what he points out is that it doesn't really matter which of these three types of relationship styles we engage in. What's important is what he calls this mathematical ratio of 5 to 1. What he says is that we really have to have 5 positive interactions in good times in our relationship for every one negative interaction or bad time in the relationship. He says this ratio really is important regardless of the relationship style, volatile, avoidant, or validating. It's sort of like the idea of emotional bank accounts. When we make plenty of deposits, when we make 5 times as many deposits in our spouse's emotional bank account as we do withdrawals, there'll always be sufficient funds there, so that when we say something dumb, when we throw out a zinger because we're frustrated, our spouse won't go, hey, whoa, wait a minute, you know, I'm overdrawn and you can't be trying to take any money out right now. Our spouse will be much more willing to forgive at those times if we've made sure to make that 5 to 1 ratio. To find out more about this, you can read in Gottman's book, Why Marriages Succeed or Fail.
One of the interesting things about what James just said is that Gottman even recognizes that sometimes people who have that volatile relationship are the ones who keep the romance alive. So while we don't recommend volatility, if your relationship is volatile, it doesn't mean it's doomed to failure. So let's talk about the ninth fact in fiction. The fiction is probably that love by itself will sustain the relationship, that love will carry us through. And of course, when we're young and in love and that romance is so powerful, it just seems like that could support anything. But that's actually not the vehicle that can carry us over the long haul. Rather, it has more to do with friendship. So the natural, automatic way to respond in a relationship is the self-focus. It's you know, I got to be sure my needs are met, and I got to be in love, and a whole bunch of other things that turn out to not be very mature. Instead, one of the things that matters is that awareness. Gottman talks about bids, about the idea that very often what we say to each other is a bid for connection. We say something not just because it was vital new information, as much as we're saying, hey, let's connect, let's relate to each other, let's somehow participate in each other's lives. So he talks about making bids and then turning toward each other as opposed to turning away or turning against. So one example he gives of that is a woman who one Saturday morning says, you know, I'm off to the grocery store. And the husband says, is it okay if I go with you? And so hidden in a lot of ordinary business talk is the invitation to be a part of our lives. When she says, I'm going to the grocery store, maybe she kind of hoped that he would go with her. It might be an opportunity to have a little outing together. Not romantic in the Hawaii sense, but still an opportunity to be together and to connect. And very often we don't even recognize those bids. We just think, you can go to the grocery store, or you can take care of this, that, or the other. So that awareness that very often the simple things that our partner says are an invitation to connect, to be a part of that person's life. There's another idea that's really important too, and that's the whole idea of languages of love. Maybe most of you have heard about languages of love. The idea that we